Welcome back. With predictions, house prices are set to fall. First home buyers are clamouring to take advantage of the property market. We're also hearing that the RBA is going to keep interest rates as well.
Good news.
With clearance rates now up more than 70% in some capital cities, experts say coronavirus is unlikely to make real estate more affordable.
Yeah, here to tell us more is property economist Andrew Wilson. Good morning, Andrew.
Hey, Andrew.
So clearance rates in the past.
Hi, David.
Clearance rates in the past months have doubled in some parts of the country. Why is that?
Well, look, certainly there's more confidence in our housing markets, Belinda. Consumer confidence is rising as the shutdown ends or comes to an end sooner rather than later. And of course, we're seeing fewer withdrawals. That was pushing down those clearance rates. Withdrawals are counted as non-sales in clearance rate methodology. So clearance rates are up, but numbers are still quite small. And of course, we've only been able to have open air auctions over the last couple of weekends. So it'll be a while before we see numbers pick up. But it is some good news in terms of the number of properties being sold.
So is this a buyer's market?
Well, it's certainly going to evolve into a buyer's market, David. There's no doubt that there'll be downward pressure on prices. We've come through the health issue very positively. Now we've got to have the real hard yards in terms of the economy, and that means the housing market as well. But it's interesting that in previous economic downturns, the housing market has actually performed quite reasonably. We saw actually house prices rise in most capital city markets during the 1991 recession, and they were quite steady during the GFC. But that was because we had lower interest rates to stimulate affordability. But the problem now is we don't have that same capacity to cut rates because official rates are way down at 0.25%. During the GFC, mortgage rates fell from 10% to 5%, and that helped keep the housing market ticking over.
Yeah, we're already really low. Now, what about current homeowners? Should they be looking to sell?
Well, obviously, I think it's a wait-and-see approach in the short term. We know that the JobKeeper allowances are likely to finish in September. So really following that, we'll see the real impact on the economy. But let's remember, even if we get to that 10% unemployment level, it still means 90% of the population or the workforce have jobs. And that's part of the reason why we don't see a real shakeout in the housing market during higher periods of unemployment. But there are a few outside forces this time that we need to account for, and that is that we'll likely see lower migration, not just lower rates as we've had previously, and also perhaps more investors being pushed into the marketplace as demand falls away from supply.
So if you're thinking of buying now, what should you be considering, economically speaking?
Well, economically speaking, we should also, particularly if you're a first home buyer, make sure that you can comfortably afford the property you're interested in. Of course, have strong job security and job prospects. But it is a good time for first home buyers who are always encouraged to get into the market. We have very strong aspiration for home ownership in this country, and first home buyers are usually used as a lever to activate the economy through government stimulus packages. We saw that during the GFC, and we saw it way back in 1983 with the first home buyer grant. So I think the government could give first home buyers a leg up, and that would certainly
There was rumours of stamp duty. There was rumours, Andrew, of stamp duty being cancelled in some states. Is that still on the table somewhere?
Well, I think that would be a heroic decision by governments. If stamp duty was ended, that would be good. But of course, that means that state government revenues would fall, and they rely heavily on stamp duty. I think the plan is to replace stamp duty with a land tax. I'm not sure the general populace should be in favour of that. And I think that we shouldn't be looking at significant tax reform until our economy at least looks like stabilising.
Good
All
idea.
right.
Thanks, Andrew.
Some great advice.
Thanks.
When we return, the latest 9 News headlines.
Plus, putting the brakes on carpool karaoke.